Hi, you guys. You're listening to Good Vibes Sunday, a podcast brought to you by I Am Warhol, the blog. Every Sunday, I'll be sitting down with provocative thinkers, industry disruptors, and culture changers. My intention for every guest is to talk about breaking barriers, shifting old paradigms, and really just opening up in a vulnerable conversation. Today, we get to sit down with Dryden Mitchell at his studio in Huntington, California. Dryden is the lead singer of the rock band Alien Ant Farm. They were formed in Riverside in 1996. They've released 5 studio albums. They are best known for their Michael Jackson cover, Smooth Criminal, which topped the Billboard's alternative songs in 2001. This single was a huge success. The song was featured on the first season of WWE's Tough Enough and the movie American Pie 2. They also had songs featured on video games like Tony Hawk, Madden NFL, and so many more. Solo, Dryden recorded a song called Friday I'm in Love, which appeared on the soundtrack for the movie 50 First Dates featuring Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler.
It's Friday, I'm in love. Saturday, wait. Sunday always comes too late. But Friday never hesitate. I don't care if Monday's black. Tuesday, Wednesday, heart attack. Thursday, never looking back. It's Friday, I'm in love.
Okay, who loves that song as much as I do? I mean, it takes me back. So good. I can go on and on, but I think you all get the idea. Dryden and his band have since been touring the world and just sharing their music with their fans. Today we talk all about his career, we even probe into Michael Jackson, but as always we dig a little deeper and we open up some fun conversations about life today, family, and just so much more. So please, everyone, help me in welcoming a dear friend and just an awesome human being, Dryden Mitchell.
You said I was going to help you.
You're helping a ton. Okay. All right.
The little ones are speaking the truth.
Yeah, right? She's
All
like,
right.
I'm not nervous. Are you nervous, Millie?
No.
Okay.
Say it one more time. I want to start by asking you a question that revolves around a principle that we talk about here all the time on Good Vibes Sunday. Adam and I always say, there's people who always have that one thing they wish they would have done, or just that dream that they never got to achieve, and they didn't do it because of the fear of what if I fail? What are people going to think of me? And just what if I fail? I mean, I think that's one of people's biggest fears. And so they never move in that direction of their dreams. But for you, Dryden, all those years ago, you were about 20 years old when you got started. How did you find the courage at such a young age to pursue your dreams and starting a band? Because, starting a band is a big deal. That's not, to reach for the stars as far as the music business. That's a big dream. So how did you find the courage to do that?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Before even being 20 years old, just having a guitar at age 10 or 11, watching my father, he was a songwriter, and watching him perform at just family functions, and basically watching him turn a room through just a song or whatever, just a stiff room, start to slowly get looser and looser through music. I knew I wanted to do that. It wasn't like I wanted to be famous, or I wanted to necessarily even, I don't know if I really dug the music even. I just loved watching my dad turn a room, turn the mood of a room.
Yeah.
And I knew, okay, that's what I really want to do. But to answer the question in another way too, I think, being young is the greatest asset you can have for business or anything. I think being, naive to all the problems that come with it is the best thing you can have. A lot of times at that young age, like you said, even 20, I know it's a little older, but, in the teen years up into the 20s, I think, a lot of times if you knew how hard something was going to be, you might have not ever even tried it via baseball, music, business. Oh, I don't care. I'm going to be awesome because my mom told me I was
ignorance
awesome.
is bliss.
Yeah,
right?
and it's
bliss.
Yeah, that's the main thing, I think.
My dad's mom is Vaughn.
Her name's Yvonne.
Yeah. Did your parents, did they push you? Did they encourage your music career?
They encouraged it. I don't know if they really pushed in any direction. My dad certainly didn't, and he was the musical one. My mom definitely supportive. They didn't sway me from it by any means. I do know I never graduated high school, and my father, I remember him telling me he had done literature at University of British Columbia, had all these kind of scholastic attributes, and he basically just said, this, if you're really going to do, I told my dad I was going to be in a band and everything was going to be fine, but he's listening to a 16-year-old tell him that.
Yeah.
And he just said, well, if this is the route you want to take, it's not going to be
an easy one.
It's not going to just be like a drinking, smoking party. I want to like see what comes of this. I remember telling him like, when we finally got signed to DreamWorks, that like it was an emotional call because I remember that conversation that we had before, that.
So just to go back to that question, because you're right, you say when you were younger, ignorance is bliss, for sure. Do you think that now, being older, would you have done it today? So knowing what you know now, would you go back and change anything, or would you say you would have still taken that leap?
I would have taken that leap. I don't know that I would have known how to do it nowadays because at least the industry side of music is so baffling to me now, how to really jump in. But then again, kids were asking me back then how to really kind of crack the safe or whatever, and I really don't know other than like hard work. We were we had 9 to 5 kind of jobs, but we were booking gigs up to Washington and back, is in these little tiny chunks away from Riverside that we could, and we'd only play Riverside like once every 4 months. So even though it was our hometown, we could still get 500, 600, 700 people because we weren't, you tell your friend every week you're playing at a venue. By the time, a month's gone by, your friends aren't going to be there anymore. It's like they're there to support for a second. But so
was that all your guys' idea? Just to like, let's go there.
I don't know that we were just watching other bands kind of do it. The Northern California bands and Southern California just.
All right, well, let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning. How did Dryden Mitchell become the lead singer of Alien Ant Farm?
I was into folk music. I still am into folk music. Maybe singer-songwriter style music, but a lot of female singers. I was a little long-haired, down to my waist, scrawny hippie kid in Riverside, and I played a lot of like coffee shops and cafes, and I didn't want to be. I had already been a lover of heavy music as a child, and I just thought, I'm gonna go over here because I don't know why, just because everyone of my friends was into like heavier music and
heavy music. Are you mean like Metallica?
I don't know. It was all a conglomeration of like from death metal to like the lighter side, which is still heavy. But the bands like Metallica and Forbidden and all these, we could get into that for a million years, but So I'm playing coffee shops and stuff, and a couple of the guys that are in Alien Ant Farm now, the guitar player and drummer, were in a fairly popular band in Riverside called Brother Vibe, and they were actually like becoming like a bigger band than just Riverside. And they wanted to do something that wasn't that was a little more melodic. They had a singer that was kind of rah guy, and they knew that I was not that guy. And so we kind of got together and tried it that way.
So you guys are most known for Michael Jackson's song Smooth Criminal. And then you guys later re-released the song Movies, which also did really well. Smooth Criminal was a huge hit. So what did that whole rush of fame feel like? Like as soon as that song went just basically viral. And it's not like today where like social media stuff goes
right. It had to become, you had to dig it via
for sure.
And the proof was in like the sales of the record.
Right.
Nowadays that doesn't really happen a lot. So it was a different time to say the least. we got signed to a label called DreamWorks, who no longer exists. I mean, they do in the movie realm, you know, every cartoon you see practically.
Yeah.
But we were making this great record. Everything was cool. We wanted to do one cover, and we were dabbling with a few different ideas, and Smooth Criminal just lent itself to rock really well. We did a 2 or 3. I think we did a Sade song. We did
did you really?
We did Easy Lover by Phil Collins.
Yeah.
And they were cool. They were great, but they weren't. It wasn't like, oh, kids are gonna love this Sade song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I loved it, but that was about the extent that it went. And so once we find out Smooth Criminal, we thought, okay, we don't want this to be like out of the gate single for our own reasons or whatever. So movies was our first single.
Okay.
And it was doing relatively well at radio, and
then you guys re-released it
after. This is the thing that happened with movies. The single was doing okay, and I was overseas. I think our record had already was on its way to being gold. And in my head, which is 500,000 copies in America, for some reason in my head when we were kids, I thought, 100,000 records, that's all I want. And then that'll be like my proof that we're like viable and legit.
We were just interviewing this guy, a baseball player, Kuzmanov, and he said the same. He goes, even if I just make it to one, big league game, I'm good. And then he ended up being there forever. It was.
So, movies is moving along, no pun intended, quite well. And I'm in Germany or somewhere in Europe, and I call a friend back at home. How's everything going? Oh, everything's cool. Hey, your song is #1 on the Furious 5 at 9, K-Rock.
Yeah.
And I said, what? Like, because it was just odd.
I thought it was movies.
Yeah, he goes, no, Smooth Criminal. We hadn't even known that it was released. DreamWorks just released it unbeknownst to us. And like within like 2 days that they did, it was already K-Rock. And so I was partly pissed because that was like not what we wanted. It wasn't our plan. Our plan was kind of like maybe release 2 or 3 singles of our album, and then maybe at the end there just kind of kick it out with for our own whatever. We wanted more of our music, I guess.
Of course.
And
I understand that.
That's not the way it went. And after being pissed for like 48 hours, we're like, well, the cat's kind of out of the bag. Let's just like embrace this. We're the assholes that walked in there and recorded it. It's not like we were blindsided completely.
So you knew what you were doing.
We knew what we were doing. We just didn't want it released in that way. I think we thought a relatively successful freshman record would lead to a slightly bigger sophomore record and so forth. You know what I mean? And when you get something like that, like out of the gate, we were like, holy shit, is this ever going to be like topped? We kind of knew that it wasn't in a weird, not in that way. So that was a little disheartening in a sense. And then anyways, I think radio stations got so sick of playing. Smooth Criminal was just like every other song on MTV
it's still
or on radio. They still
hear it
play
daily.
Yeah. So I think a lot of DJs around the country still liked the band. They went back to movies. It was almost like organic. It became a single again. So and we didn't do that. The radio stations did that. So we went back and did like a whole nother. There's like 3.
Movies.
I love it too. There's like 3 videos for movies. So and it was just like the song that kind of wouldn't go away from our repertoire, and that was almost like it was golden because we didn't have to test our third single. Our third single was our first all over again, and it had more legs the third or the second time around.
Right. No,
sorry, that was a long story, but
no, it's good. It's good. All right, so you and the band, you guys crashed the BET Awards.
Right.
So you and the band crashed the BET Awards. What was the intention behind that? Because you guys all got arrested.
No one got arrested.
No,
a couple of
What?
people in the video.
Was that the video?
No. If you watch, nothing was staged at all in that video. If you see at the end,
Coolio was in that, right?
There's a lot of people in that.
Lil Camp?
Yeah, I don't know, Brian McKnight, all these people. But if you watch the video closely, like a couple of people did get arrested on the camera side of things.
Yeah.
So and we kind of made it look a little like you see it's a girl in cuffs and a assistant director or something.
So that was all kind of pre-done?
Nothing was staged at all.
Crazy.
So we just like every if you see those people in cuffs, it's just not us.
Yeah, okay.
And we just went in with a video treatment to DreamWorks. I think one of us, maybe me or our guitar player Terry, just said, I think there's a YouTube video where they're on top of this New York City building, like still haven't found what I'm looking for or something, and they're killing it, and everyone beneath the skyscraper finally figures out that it's U2 and they're loving it. And I remember thinking, like, what if we did that but nobody loves it? Like, it was kind of cool because I remember DreamWorks thinking that's the stupidest idea in the world, that you want to be like hated. But the director, this guy named Mark Klosfeld, who'd done a million great hip-hop videos and rock videos, he was in the room and he's like, I get what you want to do,
such a juxtaposition,
and I think it's going to be brilliant. So let's find a venue, because we didn't know what we were just going to do it anywhere. So we found like what's going on in between this little pocket where we're not touring, because at the time we were touring our asses off. It was like right after that first record, so it was like the longer you stay dormant, then the quicker you're forgotten about.
For sure.
So what's going on when we're shooting this video? What are the events going on? It was the Gay Pride Parade, Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera concert, and the BET Awards were all happening like in this weekend in LA.
Crazy.
So we did all three.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we got a big float for the Gay Pride. We did the whole Gay Pride Parade in a gigantic ant. It was a huge semi. It was amazing. It was beautiful.
That's wild.
There's scenes like there's these big buff dudes all over me, and there's slow mo. You know what horchata is? Okay.
Yes.
So there's slow.
She's Mexican.
Yo también.
A quarter.
So there's like slow mo scenes of me, like there's horchata coming out, like it looks like male semen. So MTV got a cut of the first, and they're like, we're never gonna play this video, dude. It's like way too like graphic, and we're all proud of ourselves, like the little like deviant morons that we are, not knowing this isn't sellable. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the video didn't make sense between those three things: Gay Pride, Justin, and BET. And then finally, like, the BET footage was just the best footage of the three, and we just said, why don't we just go with that? And there's a lot of like weird. The cops were we had deadbolted all the doors, so they had to get bolt cutters. What? So when they came up, that's when they were like, everybody's going to fucking jail right now.
Oh my goodness.
And
that is crazy. That is insane.
They were really bummed, and then they were trying to find anything to like to make our day worse. So like even like I think we got. And the video the budget was zero, because it was all like handhelds. I mean, it wasn't zero, but comparatively, like I think, that Smooth Criminal video was like $600,000 video.
That's what
and
I
the
heard,
These Days video was like $60,000. So the cops, I remember they fined us $40,000 for the huge ant farm.
Oh gosh!
Banner that comes out, and that thing's immense. It was we did it on top of the Jimmy Kimmel building, and it's like the size of the Jimmy Kimmel building, and because the banner wasn't flame retardant.
Oh my god!
We got like a $40K. Like they were just like, fuck these guys. Yeah, they were trying to find anything.
That's crazy. All right, so. That's a crazy story. No, so I didn't know that that's why you guys did that.
That's cool.
That's
I like
genius.
that.
It's brilliant.
we want to find everyone that looks up. I forget how I said it, but I was like, how U2, everyone's excited to see them. I want them to like everyone to not be bummed out.
Yeah, not be.
And we're like BET Awards, but it was cool because we almost got like a pass for quite a few years into like the urban side of music, because even just doing Smooth Criminal, like a lot of hip hop artists and R&B artists would just come up and be like, you guys freaking killed it. It's like, so I feel like when we did BET, it was just like another solidified, like more than the reaction that we wanted was like, screw these guys. Yeah. Again, it was a lot not necessarily the people that were at that event, but years later, like a lot of, R&B hip hop artists saying that was the coolest shit like right after Smooth Criminal, you like did it like something kind of like not the song, but something similar in a sense.
Just something that was kind of outlandish, but
Right.
so outlandish that it got everybody's attention.
Mm-hmm.
I always say like bad attention isn't necessarily bad attention.
Unless
You
it's
know
just
what I mean?
like infamously like retarded, like
Yeah.
you mess with a kid or
Yeah,
something.
obviously.
Like like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Above him.
About that. No, we'll move on from that one. But no, you're right. No, I mean, you see, like, even Kanye or whatever, he always says, he goes, what is it? Bad publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
Because he always uses he'll say the most outlandish.
Just to stay...
stay relevant.
Just to stay relevant. And
Yeah.
it's like, it kind of sucks because I think it takes away from what people that are really trying for the arts to do when the waters are getting muddied up by, like, a famous person just trying to stay relevant.
Yep.
So they just, like, act...
It's just like PR. I think that's impressive.
I think it's a PR's nightmare. You know what I mean? Like now, I mean, I'm just trying to think of like what people used to try and like keep their actors and artists like away
Super
from
clean,
social media has turned like everyone has like this voice now and and sometimes it's at 2 a.m. and that's why the Roseanne bars like lose their shows and shit, you know, and it's like I don't know, it's like sometimes the mystery of a band or an artist, I think, is kind of gone, and that takes a lot of the romance out of it.
It does.
I've literally seen like, not necessarily recently, but I remember just saying like, reading like Ant Farm Facebooks or Instagram, and like, if I didn't personally friend someone like on my page, it'd be like, oh, they suck. I'm like, oh my god, now I get like, because at the beginning of Facebook, it was like just my friends, just my family. But now I'm like, I'm just as guilty. I share my kids all day long, whatever. But it's weird how that has taken a lot of like romance and mystery out of the arts. But and sometimes I feel like I follow so many like people that I admire, whether they're famous or not. Yeah. But it's weird when I just get like, oh, you look fat. I'm just like, who is this person? By the way, I am. But like, geez, thanks, man. Like, it's Friday night.
No, it's true.
Eat my cookies.
I always say that one of the hardest jobs is one that relates building people relationships. But you and your band members, essentially, you guys are all the original band members except for your bass, right? Yeah. How did you guys stay together throughout all these years?
I don't know. It was probably a lot of downtime in a weird way, and it wasn't necessarily downtime. We were always involved in music. I had a couple of bands in between Ant Farm and just wondering if we really wanted to do this anymore. We had gone through a lot of ups and downs, like more than most people realize, with the bus crash and broken necks and infidelities in the band, even with like other members, significant others, and that's enough to like, it's boiling water, you know what I mean? And we're sitting in like in a bus that you're uncomfortable at best when everyone's getting along on a bus, and then when you add those like elements, it was just everyone.
So again, how did you guys stay together?
Yeah, well, again, it's I don't know. I think ultimately we want to put food on our tables as well. Yeah. That's not to say you have to get to a common place, and I think we all have a little bit of integrity more than if we really just hated the other person. Right. We couldn't do it. So I think just growing up and just like, hey, how do we get civil? You've been out of my life long enough to I think I can let some of these things slide. We were all chasing the same thing, so we had to kind of like adjust and figure out, is this enough to warrant us like never being in the same room again? Right. And it's not like we're some huge band, so in a weird way I felt it was more important that we stay together because we weren't a huge band. It's like a little bit of like needing them is a good thing too, because it created conversations. I need you, and
it opened
and
that
you
dialogue.
need me, and you need me too, dude. This happens in the circles of life, no matter what's going on.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's hard enough. Like even with us, just we are building relationships with people all day long, every day, and that's a hard job, right? Anytime you're working with people, it's a hard thing. So especially with you guys being together all the time, creating music, there's frustration, like you said, there's those things that happen that are betrayal, infidelity, all of those things. So on top of that, but you guys still have to sit together. You still have to, at the end of the day, you still have to perform.
Well, and you got to pretend like you're in, like everyone's into it's a party when you go on. I think that bit of the entertainment industry is a good thing in a sense, to kind of like I found myself at times like shows sometimes if I'm sick or just not in the mood, you have to put yourself in that mood.
Yeah.
And excuse me, sometimes faking it makes me happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've done it a million times.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, obviously, being on the bus, it's like minor leagues. I'm going 16-hour bus rides, and then
I don't feel good.
Yeah,
nobody knows. I think my hand might be broken.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell anybody. My batting average sucks, or whatever. Whatever's internally in your head.
Then it goes through your mind. You're like, I feel like my arm hurts.
Yeah.
I feel like a bag of D's right now. And then I have to go out there and perform. And then my job is still my job.
And nobody wants to hear your lame story.
Your job is your job. You got to go out there and save a game. Or you got to go get a hit.
Absolutely.
Nothing happened. They don't know anything. This is their first game they went to, and that's their only game they've been to. So
why is the singer being a jerk on stage?
Yeah.
And I've done that very, very rarely. But there's been I can count maybe on one hand where I was like a jerk on stage, and I regret that so much. Yeah. But sometimes you just can't really fake that.
I've literally pelted baseballs into the stands, just and nothing's going my way, and I'm like, what? Or I've destroyed coffee things or destroyed coolers. You know what I mean? But then I'm like, that felt good at the time, but what did I get? Where did it get me? But at the end of the day, you still got to perform.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, you still got to perform.
All right, let's take it back for a second and go back to the song of Smooth Criminal, Michael Jackson's cover that you did. Did you ever meet Michael Jackson? Did he ever comment on the song?
Well, here's some... I know he loved the song. I mean, it was his song.
Yeah.
No, but he loved our version of the song. We only had back and forth with Michael Jackson via email and through his people, not even like really him.
Yeah.
And the thing of it was, we were making the video, and we already knew he liked the song. We were making the video, and there's a few scenes in the video where there's a little boy who's dancing, like he's kind of got the MJ moves, and he's wearing a surgical mask, and we knew that Michael Jackson wore that mask because of all of his effed up surgeries. I mean, his nose was literally gone.
Yeah.
And so we sent him the version with the surgical mask, and he replied back, I love the video, but I don't like the kid with the mask. So, and we had already been on tour, and again, we weren't trying to, it was an homage. A lot of people thought we were like making fun of Michael, which I can't imagine who would think that, because I thought the song was just like fire. It wasn't like it wasn't like a Weird Al song or something. So we definitely thought we didn't want to just release. We could have just said it, screw him, where the video's done.
Right.
And so we literally we were already on tour. The director for the video went back to the same street where the kid was, got all the extras back for continuity's sake. He wouldn't even have to do this. It was an extra, like, I don't know how many thousands of dollars to do that. Right. And we reshot it with the kid without the mask. We sent it back to Michael Jackson, and he said, you know what? I like it better with the kid with the mask. So and we're just like, okay, cool. There's another kind of quick, cool story. Quincy Jones had done so much MJ stuff, and we've never met these people, mind you, but we're forever fans of just the music process and all that. Yeah. Quincy Jones did not like Smooth Criminal, and Michael Jackson loved the song. I'm saying his version.
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson said, this is a number one song.
Right.
And Quincy I just don't hear it. It's not.
Yeah.
It never was until we did it. And rumor is that Michael Jackson, someone I know that would probably know this, said that like Michael had called Quincy and said, I told you it was a number one song. But it was that made me feel really, really good.
Yeah.
just being like, just being in a conversation, between those two, I'm like, what the?
Those Alien Ant Farm kids, they did it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Number one.
Quincy Jones. That's wild. That's insane. All right, so I heard this quote once. So music is sound that opens up the window to the soul. And then the soul kicks in and tells the mind and body that you have unlimited potential. So Adam and I like to call this flow state. So I don't know if you know what this is. It's basically where, in your case, it would be when you're singing and those lyrics, that moment, it comes from somewhere deeper inside of you.
Yeah.
Like where you don't even have to think and you're just in that place and you just start singing and everything's just
Clear the
flowing.
mechanism.
Yeah, and Adam's done it with baseball. He said, it was the same thing. It was like when he'd be out there and he said the crowd would just turn off. Everything was just turn off. And it was just him, himself, the ball, and the mitt. So when you were singing, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, you've been in those states. Was it important for every single one of your band members to be in that flow state, like that contagious flow state?
I don't know that it would be a true like flow state if I was concerned about what was going on even with my band.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
You're right, yeah.
Like if everyone's kind of firing together and this thing, like I know that if, this drummer messes up, that we're spinning plates and it all can fall.
You're right.
Same as a team.
Yeah.
But I've kind of felt like, I feel like we are so rehearsed or so kind of second nature that they got my back.
Yeah.
And my nerves are all in my insecurity, my problem. I was never nervous necessarily about anyone else.
It was always within yourself. That's
and even sometimes the badass things too. It was like I felt like I was taking credit for it or something, and I know it was more than it was all of us. But,
right, but I can only imagine. Even as a singer, you're almost like setting that flow. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Well, in a sense, like I guess more people than not gravitate towards lyrics and melody vocally than they would. I mean, not everyone, like, I know plenty of people that listen just solely for the guitar line or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But typically, so I could see that as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. This like that flow state or something can kind of F you up too,
But it's like when everybody, like, so let's say you're at a concert and you're in it, they're all in it. Not that you're worried about them being in it, but when you guys are all just like, it just feels right. Like everything's just vibing. You're not even having to think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It just depends on the show as well. I'd like to think sometimes that it's the same, but it really isn't.
But I think that I always compared that with her is like, it was me, say, I saw the way you were, I saw your vibe on Sunday, and I always compare that, because I was always the closer.
Yeah.
So, closer, everybody's like,
come on.
And then if I ever went in the 4th, 5th inning, I'm like, the guys are there, like, we're getting through these innings to get to that point in the game. You know what I mean? And it's a different vibe, and that's why, I remember one time, this was like when I was in AA, and they were like, I was like closed in the middle of the season, and I wasn't the closer at that point. And they're like, "Dude, you live for that role." I'm like, "Yeah, I live for that," because it was just like it gave me the goosebumps, it gave me that vibe, and it was just like what you were saying. It's like you feel that there's that energy, but I think that energy is what really puts you into that flow state.
Yeah,
and it gets that, and that adrenaline just kicks you over the notch.
Yeah, and it's so many. It's so many things to get to that set, that show, that game. The flow state for me, my favorite flow state is being like in the room that we're in right now at like 1 a.m. when I'm actually penning something.
Oh,
and like you said, I'm singing the words and they are like I am knowing every word. On stage, I don't think I think about any words that was written so long ago. I mean, there's moments where I'll hear, like, we have a cool song and I'll kind of live in it and recreate those lyrics.
It's more of your creative flow state.
Absolutely. And my favorite part about being in a studio or just not even necessarily studio, but just writing something down and having an acoustic and like singing it. My favorite part is like the hope of what it could be. It doesn't matter. We never wrote we never did a song that was bigger than Smooth Criminal, whatever anybody wants to say. My favorite time in my life, I would equate it even to hanging with my kids or whatever, it is writing something that is special to me and maybe only someone else would know what I meant. One other girl years away, whatever.
Yeah.
And even if they don't know, who cares? But again, that flow state for me is like, oh, this is gonna be great, and it doesn't matter if it's great or not. The time of that time of thinking that it's going to be.
It's that creative outlet.
It's great. If once it's in my head that it's great, it's great.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need another opinion. I don't need it on the radio. I just need it for that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, so you tap into it when you're creating. That's actually...
That's what it's more so.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's so good. I want to talk about the bus accident. Can you tell us what happened there?
It was a long time ago, like 2002, I think. So my memories of it, I almost feel like my memories of it are because I've told the story 1,000 times. But if I was just quiet in my own head and relived it, I think I would remember more. You know, I feel like I repeat myself of the story I've told, and in that sense, there's no flow state there. Yeah. No, but you know what I mean, because I feel like I'm reciting what was already said. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, we were in Spain, a couple hours, you know, away from Madrid, on our way to Portugal, and I felt like a bomb went off. You know, I was playing guitar. We had a double-decker bus. The tour bus was like had two floors to it almost. It was a British bus. I was in the upstairs back lounge, playing guitar, and then I was just laying on the floor. And I remember thinking, like, why is it raining inside the bus? Because the whole roof had ripped off, and it was just like pouring, not the entire roof, but I could see down the hall, and it was like pouring rain. And then I remember I couldn't move my fingers, my toes. I couldn't blink. I couldn't breathe. I knew what had happened, and I didn't know that with the crash, but I knew that I had broke my neck.
Right.
Like, it was that evident, that quick. I never went unconscious, but I remember like a couple little basic thoughts was like, why is it raining on the bus?
Yeah.
And then I thought, as simple as I wasn't scared yet, because this might have taken 1 second or 2 minutes. I don't really remember. Right. But I remember thinking, that's it? It's that easy? Like that, like to be, because I knew I was paralyzed. I felt like this kind of aura around me, that it was like a defense mechanism. Like nothing I didn't want to be touched. Right. And I felt like I could feel movement around me, like 2 feet away from my body. That's how that's how fragile my
sensitive.
It was. I swear that whoever, if it's God or whoever creates us, made this happen. You know what I mean? It created this weird like static around me that just did not. My body was in a complete like stay away from me kind of mode. It was very odd, very strange, and I slowly just kind of felt myself being able to blink, start to be able to like move I felt my eyelashes start to like get closer together, and I was really like kind of like coaching myself to get. It's an odd story, this bus crash, because I could talk for like I mean, it was so long for me to get to a hospital in where we were at, you know? Yeah. And it was in the middle of nowhere. This hospital was like worse than like a veterinary in Stanton, you know? And they literally, no offense to the veterinaries and all the vets in Stanton right now listening. No, but they like, our driver came to them dead. Oh. Like broken leg, broken ankle, broken leg, broken neck. Yeah. My best friend at the time, from the Czech Republic, this guy, he wasn't really security, but he just did everything for us. He was just a great friend of mine. He had gone through like a television set. His face was like unrecognizable. His dad was like the top surgeon in the Czech Republic. His father couldn't identify him. They had to like look for a tattoo on him. His head had swelled out past his shoulders. Wow. And so it's just a lot of weird. That question alone is an odd one for me, because I could skip all over, and we haven't even gotten from that tiny little farm hospital. Yeah. I got DreamWorks was amazing, actually. DreamWorks was like, they have basically like chartered me like a private plane, and they flew me back to London. Wow. And London is where I found out what was really wrong with me, and I broke my C2. And a doctor just basically said, surgery is not an option. We need to fuse your first and second vertebrae. And then even then paralysis might be just in your future. And
so what happened though? Was it the bus that crashed? Like, what did it crash into?
Basically, we crashed into the back of a parked semi that was kind of like half on the road.
Yeah.
And it was just basically full of like pallets of like magazines or newspapers. Okay. And so it was like going into a wall basically at like 75 miles an hour.
Damn. All right.
And so, yeah, the driver was just...
Yeah, he was the first one.
Yep.
So he passed away.
Yeah, he was like instantly.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, it was just a long recovery and just a weird lucky time. I battle with it. I think about it daily because I have permanent nerve damage.
Sure.
And a lot of my left to right motion is just kind of gone. And but yeah, I've gone through seasons of thinking of how lucky I am, and then I've gone through a lot of seasons of me feeling like I got like handed a shitty deck, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not a good way to look at things, but it's definitely like it's a battle. It's cruised my head a lot of times.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about this last time, but cause the guy that we interviewed last time has back pain too, and I have scoliosis, so my back curves in the top, and I live through chronic pain every single day. And I always tell him, it's like some days you're thankful and grateful, you're like, I can still walk, I'm still breathing, but other days you're like, I want to kill someone, I just like want to open my back and make the pain, just like pull it out. So no, I feel you on that for sure. All right, Dryden. So let's move on to life after the music. So you have a family now. Right. How did your life, and especially your career, how did it change after having little ones and a wife?
I don't know. Well, I don't know how to really word that. I think that especially children, I think, a relationship with a woman is you could say it's life changing, and I don't want to minimize the way I feel about Cassie or anything, but then these kids come and it's like it's a whole nother, I don't know, it's a love that I never really felt before. To put it this way, and I don't want to make it sound like disgusting, but I don't know that I've ever thought like a significant other, like a girl that I really love. I don't know if I've ever laid next to her and without the motive of eventually we're gonna like get to something cool. And then it's so fun for me to lay with Millie or Dryden, like and have that same kind of like love. But there's no other motive. You know what I mean? And that's a cool feeling. That's good for me because like I almost like, what's wrong with me? Like every time I lay next to Cassie, I want to friggin', that's natural. I get it. But all I'm saying, it's kind of nice to like.
It was like an enlightenment.
It's
almost.
Great. It makes me feel like, okay, you're not completely broken. Like there's some emotion out, but it's true. It's like.
What about for music though? I mean, when you are single, and especially for us, I mean, when you have kids, like your life changes. You get married, life changes. You have children, it changes even more. As far as for your career, did you feel a difference being out there as like daddy, or did you feel a difference? Prior to when you were... Yeah,
I don't know if maybe like being on tour it's a great break from that family life, in which I don't feel like maybe it keeps me from being resentful in a weird way, like getting to get gone for a minute, you know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe I wouldn't be resentful. I mean, this sounds like a little too honest or something, but I'm sure someone can relate with just needing like those breaks. At the same time, when I leave, Cassie's still here. It's not like it's that doesn't sound fair either, but it's changed in a lot of ways. I really can't like to find the time just to create is just close to non-existent right now. I know that these kids are getting like older and more functional just on their own. And but even now, like, I've changed my regimen is I used to stay up till 6 a.m. Right. Now it's like getting up, it's like flipping that card is not easy for me because it's not just because I'm doing it doesn't mean like my body is acclimated to it at all. No, I'm just like, what am I doing up right now? Like I chose the life that I lived for a lot lot of reasons, you know what I mean? Yeah. And one of them was to like not get the F up like this early. And I see everyone, and again, maybe I'm just like, I feel like I've been spoiled a little bit. And I walking Millie to class every day, and I see like a lot of dudes there and women there that are taking their kids, and they're all buttoned up, and I can see they're like looking at the clock, and I fortunately I get to just go home and chill, but I'm like, whoa, this guy's he's leaving her to go somewhere that he doesn't even enjoy.
But exactly. So that was my question earlier. It's like you go back to that whole idea of these people that, I always say is that they're so afraid. So everybody, you can ask anybody who say, what did you want to be when you were younger? And be like, oh, I want to be a baseball player. Well, why the hell didn't you do? Are you a baseball player now? No. They go the safe route, and they're living their life, and they're doing something that they're comfortable in, not necessarily doing what they love, right? Because they're scared of that failure.
And even they're not even that comfortable either.
No.
They're even like, in a weird way,
because somebody already did it before them, and so it's already structured. I go to work, I come home, I work 5 hours, and then I do this, and it's been going on for forever. Yeah. So it's already been predicted. It already works.
I have a love-hate with, and love's even a strong word, and hate might not be strong enough, but I do have a love-hate with, like, when I take Millie to school and they blow the whistle. First thing that happens, they blow the whistle, and everyone gets down on the ground.
Yep.
And then they blow the whistle again. Everyone gets up and slowly walks to their backpack, and then they get in line to go in. And I get it, because it's like, how else? These are freaking orangutans. You know what I mean? Like, we have to have some conformity here, or else it's going to take an hour to get them in. I know that just from getting her ready. Yep. I should have a whistle at home. But I also get a little sad, because I'm like, I feel that's the thing. Education, until I think, usually for me, until you're specifically, you yourself are trying to find your own education, I feel like it's not worth a whole lot. Yeah. It's kind of a daycare service, which is gladly accepted. But I have a lot of like qualms with that conformity thing, but like I said, it's kind of necessary. But then I see little teachers' aides in there now, and I'm like, oh, I don't like her, and I already kind of know, like, I know who that person is. My daughter doesn't, because she's 5. I don't know.
No, I hear you. I mean, we talk about this all the time ourselves, and it's the whole idea of school. I feel like, I mean, it came early on, and it was more, when was it? It was like, industrial times, to make people, right, have these jobs that were...
corporate America.
You have to do it. You have to do it.
But we're not in that anymore. You know what I mean? We've moved on for that. So all of these things, like, even when I was in college, like, they would teach me, like, art, I can tell you the history of art dance, and I can tell you the history of singing and this and music and all this stuff. I learned all this stuff. I'm like, it's not necessary. And the thing is that today we're probably making, a better living than a lot of people out there that have gone to school. And not to bash on anybody, but at the same time, it's just the way that we're all being programmed. It's really irritating. So we see it with our own kids. And, and then going back to this idea, Dryden, even just about like how your life has changed as, with children and your family, even for Adam and myself, like, when Adam had to start, like, when Aaron was little and he was in school, it was easy, right? But once he started school, we began to have to be apart. And I felt like he had that guilt of, I can't be there, right? So your life no longer becomes, it's like you can't live your life for yourself anymore. You're almost like, baseball's very selfish. So it was your career.
Music,
it's a selfish career.
I heard Wayne Gretzky say one time, he goes, if you're going to be... My wife that was the most selfish time of my life, was when I was in hockey.
I would go 6 months.
But he said, it was just me training from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and eating and doing this and doing that. And he goes, it was the most selfish. And that was me. It was like, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to come back home. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to get a massage. I'm going to do this. And that's the way it's going to be. You like it or you don't?
Yeah,
okay,
you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Well, and the idea, I think the idea of it, I mean, and to be selfish at times is truly what you have to do to get some things done. Sure. And I think the idea behind selfishness, if the person is a good person, because you can be selfish and still be a good person, I think.
Absolutely.
And I think the idea behind a good person being selfish is they kind of know that they know you know, what's at the end of that tunnel. Because it's not just money, it's freedom. And I think, you know, sometimes being selfish and getting, you know, jobs done and getting things done isn't just to be rich. It's to be rich enough to allow the freedom so we can, you know, do these things with these kids that we want to do. I get scared to death because I'm just clinging on paying my mortgage and my property taxes every year. I'm like, how am I going to take this family to like Hawaii and Dubai, all these places that I've been selfishly by myself? But then, like, how am I going to pull? Like, I don't have the means to do this right now. So I mean that's the second chapter of our lives is how do we get there?
So, Cassie, your wife is Cassie. Her name is Cassie. Who is Cassie to Dryden?
We're engaged. Forever my fiance.
But how would you describe her?
The wifey.
Yeah, how would you describe the wifey?
We're just like I don't know.
Who is she to you? Who is she?
She's a pot of gold. Cassie and I we loved each other's company, but it was like
casual?
It was very casual, and before we knew it, some real life changes were happening. And I've always been like fond and lusted after Cassie. Once I saw how much she loved my kids, and I'll be honest, like when she first told me she was pregnant, I did not want, again, that selfish thing. I didn't want it was going to affect my life. That's all I was thinking about. I was like, this is going to mess me up. And she's like, dude, you know, I had a something really kind of profound happen. And, you know, I was married before. And I remember telling Cassie, man, you know, I can't believe I'm telling you this because this is like really just between us. But I remember telling her, you know, in that moment of me being angry or whatever, and I was like, me and my ex, we never wanted children. This was not in the, like, our cards or plans or anything. And I remember, like, Cassie saying, whether it's right or it's wrong, it just resonated with me. But I remember she saying, why? Like, she didn't love you enough to, like, have your children? And I remember being going, like, wait a sec. Like, what do you... Like, it really was just, like, it was just enough to make me, like, Like, just
like
told... She just flipped the script on me, like... But I don't think she was trying to do anything but just say, what's up?
No, it was an aha
She's like,
moment.
she's like, this is... Are you in or are you not? And it was just a very weird time. But, yeah, like, to see her, like, love the kids... I think that's what, like, made... us all like to fall in love with each other, you know, and
that's super cool.
I don't know to like I get like kind of closed up and you say who is Cassie because at times she's the craziest lady I've ever freaking known, and I'm like you're scaring me right now.
And that's real though.
And well, that's
real.
That's why we hang around, you know.
No, I mean I talk about it all the time. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like. See, when I ask that, it's not like, who is Cassie, this perfect person? No, all women, especially that are listening, we all know we are crazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But guys are, they're dumber and they're just as crazy. So I mean, it's just
true. It's about who do you find that is
usually the guy is the dumbest guy. The guy is usually the dumbest dude in the room. But he doesn't think he is, and that's like scarier. Like,
No, it's all about finding you're kind of crazy, and then you mesh that in, and then you have crazy little ones, and then it makes life. I mean, it's just. I feel like, you know, and you said it too. It's like when you see her take care of your little ones, they're part of you, and then therefore it all becomes like one. You know? That's like your pack, your tribe.
Maybe it's my own, and there's plenty of Cassie to love. And I don't know that it particularly needed children to make me see that, but it certainly sped the process up, you know.
Right. Yeah, it brought it out of
it. And I think about like my ex, you know, not a ton because a lot of time has passed, but I don't see us in this situation. Maybe that's why we chose beforehand to not live that way, but. I can't say that I'm not happy with the way the things that have turned out and become, you know.
Yeah, you wouldn't have it any other way. All right, so let's talk about your tattoos. Okay, so I know you have 2 tattoos, one of 2 dogs, right? And they both passed away. So what did those dogs mean to you personally for you to have gotten tattoos of them?
I guess they were before I had kids. They're my kids.
Your babies,
We treat our animals like you know they're our family for sure. And these ones were, I think, and in that time when I didn't have children, they definitely kind of took up that space. I have friends now that don't have kids, and they're all about their dogs and cats.
For sure.
And I kind of grin to myself, and I know that love but then I think, well, you haven't gone through the turmoil of like, my dogs that I have now are cool, but they can F off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I
out.
don't even think of them the way that I used to. And they're not the same dogs, but I have a feeling if I even had those dogs,
because they came at a different point in their life.
Yeah.
Like, and we always think about, we have a little cat, and like, this cat has been through everything with us. You know what I mean?
She went through the ringers. You know,
like she's traveled with us. She's been through everything.
Yeah.
Like as soon as she goes, it's gonna be like
we're gonna
like flash. Our life is gonna flash above our eyes where we started, to where we were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It will, and not. I don't want to bring it up again, like in a to make it uncomfortable, or even for Cass, but those animals were like children to my ex and I, and so I think when they died, and we had been broken up for a long time, my ex and I, but when the dogs died, I felt like it really was, I had a real weird breakdown, and it was a good breakdown because I felt like, and I was over it. I already had children when the dogs died, but it was the last little, I felt like it was the last connection with that person, and it was good to just like, and I really felt like, and it I can't say I felt like it was a death, because it was a death, but it felt like a human or a family death, and it was good to kind of like, it needed, my body needed that like spring cleaning to get over that person. And like I said, I was over that person already, I believe. But when the death of the quote unquote kid, which was a dog, happened, it felt terrible and great at the same time.
Yeah. Well, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for sure. No, I mean, I always say, like, I lost my mother figure without going too far into that, but, like, I always say it was the best day of my life and the worst day of my life, although that sounds horrible, but it changed my life so much, and I felt like, for you, it was a release, and almost like a cutting that tie. Yeah. For me, it was like reset button. Yeah. Like, I just pushed it, like, my whole perception changed.
Because it was bottom. Yeah. It was bottom.
Yeah. So I love that you said that.
And, like, the neck break is I can equate, it wasn't the best day of my life, but I think now after years and going through that whole just recovery and situation, it really was one of the better things that happened to me. The worst thing, it's tricky the way God works. And I don't even believe in God, but I do right now. Yeah. And it's and it's just amazing how it really does flip itself on you, No, I know. I feel like special in a way that, like, not a lot of people have gone through, physically, painfully, like, all these things. Not that I'm, like, one-upping anyone, but I feel like there's a certain, like, I don't know, there's something in the room where I feel like, and I'm not, like, judging people every time I sit in the room, but sometimes I'm like, dude, I have been through more than, like, when I have those nervous moments or whatever it is, I'm like, I've already done this. To the level that most of these... And there are a lot of people that have experienced way more than me, with being in wars and all this stuff. But that was my war. Absolutely. And I'm like, I just relax. You have done some crazy stuff. And I gravitate a lot towards one of those memories, which is that one, which sucked. And it's one of my favorite memories.
No, I love that you said that. It's so true.
She always brings that up about especially about my niece. And she always said that, she goes, you were so high on your shit at that time, and she goes, that brought you back down to life. Because I tore my ACL a week later. The guy that was behind me got called up. You know what I mean? And that's literally what it is. And
it helps ground you, And then, like you said, though, at the same time, going through all that you went through, that neck pain, the whole tragedy of it all, you sit in a room and when people are complaining, you're like, compared to what, though? Yeah. You know what I mean? You're like, dude, like, I've been through some shit, right? And you say, like you said, like, compared to other people, I probably haven't been through anything, but I could sit in a room and say something and say, oh man, I went through this neck pain. The next guy could be like, dude, I've been through Vietnam War. You know what I mean? So it's always compared to what. So no, I like that.
No, it is. That. And then I get a paper. We could give me a paper cut right now, and it's gonna be the worst thing in the world. You know, I mean, it's all relative.
I hate life.
But then you go back to that day, and you're like, you know what? This is nothing. You know, so it helps. You know what? It's your anchor. You always go back to that, and you're like, if I go back to that, I'll always be all right, because that memory is always going to help ground you and bring you back to reality. So I like that. That's good. All right. So I want to talk about a heavier subject, which is...
Then bus crashes and death?
No.
Dogs are dead. Divorce. Broken neck bus crash. Let's get deeper.
Let's actually, we're going to get deeper. So suicide and overdosing. So in the music business, okay, we've lost a lot of music legends to suicide and to overdosing. Why do you think that depression and just anxiety and all of those things are basically the main factor why these legends have died? Why do you think that's so prominent, especially in the rock industry? I mean, I feel like in the music industry in total, but in the rock industry, it's happened a lot more. Why do you think?
I have no idea. Like, I really don't... I don't know. I've had these moments of... If just getting messed up on drugs is one thing, because that's an accident, you know? But like the suicide thing, maybe it's just another accident because you're messed up on drugs. You know, the overdose... I don't know.
Is it coming?
I don't know how to answer that question, because I just not like in my DNA or I can't. I maybe be lying to say if I've never thought about it in a romantic way. And that's not. Suicide isn't romantic, but I'm sure as a teenager, I'm like, what if I just went away and you know, like, but I and not to make light of that scenario, but I really don't know how to answer that. I've been. You know, my first national tour was with Linkin Park, you know, and I'm not to say we were hanging buddies like to the end, but you know, at least in our touring, during our touring and stuff, we were just really close and great friends. And he would come up and Chester would sing on stage with us and come to our dressing rooms because like his band wouldn't let him get high. He'd come smoke weed with us or whatever the heck was going on. And it was kind of nice to know he found solace in hanging out with us. And I don't even have an opinion on it. I mean,
What about this? What about, because, I mean, I'll kind of even just dive into us and just probe it, the whole idea of just the pressure maybe, because, for example, let's say that, you know, a lot of these guys, you know, you're in the music industry and stuff, you're at your peak, but then you're at your peak and then you start to kind of come to a like, not a halt, but just like a state where everybody has these expectations of
absolutely.
Whether it is to be successful or whether it's to fail, and you almost want to prove the ones that are behind you, you know, right, and then you want to prove the ones that didn't believe, you know, in you wrong. And then so with these people, and then you've got that, then you've got the media, you've got, you know, the paparazzi or whatever, you've got all these people and you've got the fans.
That's something that I can't relate to though, because I never really got to that level. I think for a season or two, like we were like one of the biggest rock bands, you know, for a minute. I can't relate when something like that happens, and I don't know if it's pressure. I don't know what it is. When someone has like 6 children and still like needs out. A lot of people say it's cowardly. I have an old friend of mine who produced our very first independent record. In fact, he was gonna, you know, we were gonna run this studio as a business, and he hung himself. And I remember I didn't want to do it anymore. I mean, I didn't want to run this as a business. Right. He was my partner and he was gone. And it was just like, it was a tragedy all around. And we all were family, and it was his girlfriend and his parents. And again, like I hear people say it's like the most cowardly thing you can do. Yeah. And then here I come like devil's advocate. And I think it's almost kind of like a very brave thing to do. Like when you don't know what's on the other side and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. Like it's kind of ballsy. I'm not saying either is right or wrong, but when people immediately say it's very cowardly to like kill yourself, I'm like, I don't know, dude, why don't you try it? You know, again, that's a bad thing to say, but there's a lot of realness in that, you know. I think it's like if you're feeling it, I mean, we control this whole thing. Maybe we don't, but I mean, for right now, I'm like, I can move my fingers right now, thankfully, and I can cause a whole lot of well, not with Adam in the room. He'd kick my ass. But I mean, I'm just saying, I can do anything right now, and there's repercussions in that. Yeah. But I know that question is the one that I not really want to like stay away from, but I just don't have an.
You don't know.
My opinion is both sides. Yeah. Once, if I talk to like the wife or the husband of someone that's died and left them with this mess.
Mm-hmm. So would you say it's more of a selfish thing? And not in a bad way, because we don't know what the hell's going on through their mind, right? Like you said, I dare you to try that, and you don't know the battles and the struggle and what they're trying. I mean, if they think that death is a better option than living the life they have, I mean, they're in pain.
Yeah, it's a weird one, too. And not that I know these people, like I said, when you see, like, Robin Williams or something, you're like, sure. How the hell? Like, everyone loved him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Seriously, like, it's not like, oh, Robin Williams, he's a dick. Like, it was just like, again, we're outsiders, at least in his life, exactly. And that's one person. But you're thinking, like, how the hell? But there again, like, money just provides freedoms. And if he's obviously, like, I don't know what that guy's worth. Yeah. 100 million. Yeah. Whether it's 20 or 200 million, somewhere in between there, and that's not freaking handling it. Yeah. Then we all know that
there's something deeper there.
Yeah, it's all, I don't know, it's gray areas there.
No, I hear you. All right, so we just saw you play at Jack FM, and that was kind of a surreal moment for us. I know you don't think that, Adam and I are fans, but we are. We were taken back by the whole idea that you sounded the same. I mean, we grew up with your album. We both owned your album.
Went to Virgin Megastore, at Ontario Mills.
Virgin, Virgin stores. Yeah. And
I bought our record at a Virgin store. It was like March 6th, I think.
Yeah. And
I just had to buy it.
Oh, for sure.
We were on tour that day.
Bought like
right
10
next to GameWorks, you know where that is.
No, but we were taken back because you sounded exactly the same. And it was cool. And me and Adam were just like looking at each other, and I remember telling your wife, I was like, this is so weird. She's like, I know, and I'm married to him. She's like, I grew up with this, guy same way, listening to his songs. And she's like, and I never thought I'd be married to this guy, and we're all just kind of having a moment. But you still have a lot of fans, and they come to your concerts. You have all these fans. So I told Adam this. I'm like, if you had all of your fans right now, and not that they'd be listening, if they are, maybe, who knows, but if you can get them all right here, right now, and if you can sit right here, what would you want them to know? Like the ones that are still like just there for you, like the ones that still listen and care, what would you say to those fans right now?
I don't know. I'm kind of bummed that you think they'd all fit in this one little... No. I'm kidding.
Come on, Mark, Jimmy.
That's like another tough question. I don't know, and I think a lot of fans know me to be like I'm not humorous when it comes to songwriting, but I'm humorous like during our shows. So I think the right thing for me to say was like, why the fuck are you still a fan?
That's good.
And that's about
but
it.
Like at Jack FM, you were so thankful.
Yeah, no,
you always said thank. You were so appreciative, and we noticed that when you were there. You were always like, thank you guys for being here.
Well, and for coming so early. That's my gripe. I mean, I can hardly gripe. I mean, it's amazing to get paid to like sing these little love songs that I penned in my garage and in Riverside, and my room was like this old little pool house, behind my parents' house, and so I don't know. I'm just.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
What are you still doing here? Like, that's my only thing to say, and thanks for still being here. But why are you? Get out of here. Go Imagine Dragons or some shit.
No,
that's what Arian loves. Arian, our little guy, he loves Imagine Dragons right now.
I know.
All right, to wrap this up, so I ask everybody this same question, okay? So this one always stumps people, but I feel like it's always the best answer. So what do you know for sure?
I don't know any. You know what I know?
What do you
know?
know?
I know that I don't know anything, and I know that I have to feel like that puts me in like this percentile of the world that can function healthy and can maneuver healthy, because it's always the people that know everything or even know anything that rub me in the worst way. And it's not to say you can't be educated, you can't have a thirst for a million things and knowledge. Everyone's judgy, everyone's family's crazy, everyone's sister-in-law is freaking wants to murder there's all these calamities, and all I know is that the older I get, I know none of this stuff or how to remedy anything.
So good.
Other than just like
so good.
Creepily like
yeah.
I don't know, I'm just figuring it out still. That's it.
I love that.
That's cool.
We say the older we get, the less we know.
Yeah.
The more we find out, we know nothing at all. So I love that
It's true.
So good. Dryden, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
It's probably the longest ever we've done, but
thank you. I think everything was pretty cool.
Chill. All right, everyone. So I'm going to be ending this podcast here with Dry. And Dryden, I'm going to be playing your song that you actually created with your little sweet girl, Millie. So just to end this podcast off on a beautiful note, here's Dryden's song with Millie.
Only
Thank you for tuning in, Good Vibers, and be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Sunday by downloading the podcast app found at the App Store. Catch you all next week. Have a happy Sunday. We hope that you enjoyed this podcast today. If you did, we ask of you to please give us a rating and a review. It really helps spread the word about our podcast, Good Vibes Sunday, and get new listeners to come on board. We appreciate you. We thank you. Thank you so much.